Children have a less access in some way because it always depends on their caretaker to take them. So unless they have their own, they don't have their own resources. So it's good that we can actually extend our healing to people who have otherwise no access. So, and children, also tend to be more open in some way, than, so actually might not require as much, number of times for the healings before they actually see the result too. So it's definitely, we want to help children that way. Well, it depends on the age. Like there's so many age group, and depends on the age. You can't work as long as I work on adult because they have no patience for that. So then how to make it easy for, so oftentimes like when the kids are smaller, then the adult might hold the children while I work on them, so they feel more comfortable. The children usually don't know what's going on, so they just sit there. Some of them are really like, like not still like start like moving around wiggly and all that. But oftentimes just kids really calm down. A lot of times kids fall asleep and they look really relaxed afterward. I think that's what Qigong does. It's really when they balance the energy and basically be in like a meditative state, so help them to relax. Depends on the children. Some children, I think they feel they're much more well-behaving when the adult is not there. And some of them, when adult is there, they feel more comfortable. And sometimes adult is so, children are affected by the adult energy, especially if they're parent or caretaker. So if the adult is more agitated about their condition, the kids actually feel that. And I really feel when the adult is really agitated in the same room. So if the adult or caretaker is very calm, and then usually their energy, the children's energy will be much calmer. The attitude of adult really affects children. Well, so one of the example I had was the one time this mother brought her child. He had the behavioral issues. He wasn't autistic or he wasn't like have any illness, but he had like severe depression. He's only like a 10. And the anxiety and a lot of anger burst in the school. So I start doing, massage mainly for the kids, and the face, the way he carry himself, in the beginning he was really like a tough guy. It's like so young, but then just so angry, but then kind of that. And he was carrying that from, I think some of our sibling actually had the issues and they're picking up the energy from that sibling. But slowly his face starts changing. And one time mother emailed me about the child, say one day she was having a headache and he came and gave her massage and said, I can heal you. It's just such amazing, the transformation that you see. And they are not coming here like every week or anything like that. Maybe once a month or once every 2 months or something like that. It's very, within the 3 to 6 sessions, really his change that he brought in was just amazing. He was much happier and more outgoing and like became more like a kid. Well, there's a lot of different, Spring Forest Qigong is not just about the movement, but there's a meditation and there's a mindfulness piece to it. It's really the base philosophy of, everything is kind of a start from unconditional love. And that's, children need to hear that more often. And, they need to really develop the mind of, love, kindness, forgiveness, and compassion. So having the, exposed to Spring Forest Qigong, I think is very helpful for their development. Also, Spring Forest Qigong is a wonderful tool to have. So if they learn it when they were young, and they can really take that tool to adulthood, when they're in the college or anytime they're in the stress, they have some tool they can work with. children are very young, and so they can't really, you can't really teach Qigong movement. So I usually recommend the adult to practice Qigong, because again, when the adult energy is calmer, the children's energy is calmer, because children are so sensitive to energy. When the household energy is more going up and down, it affects children's energy. So when the adult's energy is much more moving in a smooth way, and it helps children as well, and it contributes to their healing. It's a really interesting thing about especially a parent. I was working with a lot of parents with autistic children, right? So, and autism is range in so many different range. Some of them are very mild. So like one of a child, always there when I do the phone healing, and like, hey, mastagadu, and I can hear him talk too. So it's so sweet. But some of them, they're so severe that they can't really engage. But it's, from my feeling, is even though I was doing the healing for children, I actually was doing healing for parents more. I think really that's, they needed it. I think
Why do they need it?
because they're so stressed out, and they're so, because it's their child, and if they are not, it's also not just the sadness and the stress of taking care of children, but then whole perspective of that they can never grow out, and you have to basically take care of them in such a long term too. So that weight, is so heavy, and day to day dealing with, therapists to doctors, and, because autism is so different case by case, that not everyone understands what they are going through. So then they have to explain, my child needs this, that they have to fight really their way every day for their child, and that stress is just tremendous. Like Qigong is one of those things that, especially Spring Forest Qigong is really easy for anyone to learn. If the whole family can practice together, that's a harmony that create in a family will be just enormous. Oftentimes, with the children, it's sometimes adults, use Spring Forest Qigong more for like it's like a medicine, right? So they just come in for the band-aid, that kind of thing. And a lot of times you notice it's really the adults that need the healing. They bring children for their healing, but it's really that adult that actually need the healing. So when they actually start practicing, and there are some cases, when the children have autism, so they have a really hard time practicing on themselves, but then the parent, starts practicing, and it really helps their, condition. Well, I mean, I think part of thing is really definitely, the parents don't want to see children suffer, so then that kind of a sadness and emotion that comes with it it's not just for anybody, it's just such a strong emotion that, whether they're anger or worries and all these things is so much stronger, and it's really that helplessness that actually comes from, especially, something like, autism, there's no cure. And they don't even know, most of the people don't know where it's come from. And so since they don't know why, there's no way to cure them. So we are just finding out a little bit about how to lessen and make people somewhat adaptable to the society, but then, it's that whole thing about, there is nothing else they can do. Yeah, and Spring Forest Qigong, have the not only a self-healing, but the, sword finger technique to actually do the healing. So parents can actually learn this technique, And you can actually help children while they are not in a Spring Forest Qigong healing session. So the parents can do healing on their children.
They help their children.
Right. I think oftentimes, it's the parent is more upset than children, about what's going on. And if they're in a panic mode, the children have to deal with their own illness. On top of it, they have to deal with the parents' emotion and the burden of, their sadness and their anger and frustration on top of that. So if the parent of the children can stay calm and, kind of creating the healing environment for the children, I think their healing process will be much easier, So practicing Qigong and, meditation and finding the balance within themselves. It's not just the children, right? But then oftentimes, what I hear with, especially people with like a cancer, is that, it's a family member who get panicked. So when you're talking to someone, I have a breast cancer, and then the other person you can actually feel the other person upset that you told them that, because they're so scared of them and, and their pity or sympathy. But it's kind of when someone's trying to be, especially someone who practices Qigong, they want to be actually very positive about their healing. But then the people around you actually start looking at you like you're sick, and no, you're not going to do anything, or you can't. So they start projecting their negative attitudes toward, or their fear onto you. So then the people who are actually going through the illness have to say, no, I don't need that. So then create the environment for themselves. But then children, they can't do that for themselves because they're, being taken care of by other people. So really, parents and the people around them have to be mindful of how we can create this environment for children to thrive, and to be able to move through this healing process. Oh, definitely. And really like a 5-element movement, and the whole philosophy of balancing their emotion. And it's also, a little bit more advanced, but then really understanding everything is energy, and there is no real beginning or ending. The life just keeps going as a transformation and give. So it's not about, because when people are talking about illness, they're only focused on the length of time, length of lifetime. But our lifetime is like this. For anybody, it's not about the length, but quality of life. So how can this person going through illness, this child going through illness, how can make their life every moment and every day into something happy and joyful, and whatever the amount of a time they got, if they can experience that, and adults too, that's kind of what's behind the Qigong. It's not about the length of time we live on this world, but what is the quality of time, quality of life, and every moment how we can make the decision to make our lives better and happier and more joyful and peaceful. That's what the purpose of, I think, Qigong is. So definitely, I think Spring Forest Qigong can help, Oh, totally. Meditation, sometimes it's just a whole, people have to learn, what meditate means. People often think that meditation is like just stay quiet, not doing anything, but there is something more to that, and they're finding their own peace. So it's what society right now is always trying to find the answer, everything outside of ourselves. So then to be peaceful, you need this and this and this and this and this. Or to be happy, you need this and this and this and this and this. It's all external. But meditation is about finding peace, finding happiness, finding joy, everything inside. So all the answers inside. So how you can access to that. So that's more about the meditation.
Is that what Qigong is?
that's what Qigong is, like it's really, isn't it? It's because it's really about finding your own medicine inside, and then cultivating it, and how you move the, healing chi in our body so we can heal ourselves even more completely, so that's really what Qigong is about. Oh, free healing session for children definitely fit with, even though it's still kind of an experimental phase, hopefully we can extend it to, more different conditions, but it's really all comes from the unconditional love, and, how can we not, to create world without pain and suffering, we gotta start with children. And heal in every home. When we get old, who's gonna take care of us? It's the children.
So the children become the healer of
Children, yeah, children become the healer of the household. Why not? And they're more open to it. It was funny. When I was in India, I was doing Qigong healing for my best friend's mother. She's like, maybe 55, maybe 60. And my friends' kids are always around, so when I was doing the healing, they start doing the fourth finger with me. They're laughing, and and it's just so amazing. The kids are so open to anything. Well, people should take advantage of this more, because it's really like free healing. Whether they can't bring the children, we can do phone healing or meditation healing, and just try to see what difference it can make, and it's a great opportunity for the parents to learn about Qigong too, and how they can bring their, balance into their life, and that will help, like we are talking about, creating the healing environment, it's the creating the environment where children can thrive, and and then adults can thrive too. So I think it's a win-win for everyone. I think they just need to call Spring Forest Qigong or contact us, and then schedule free healing. Right now I think it's only for the children with cancer and autism up to 15 years old, right? Yeah. Well, it depends on the condition, of course. Sometimes it takes longer than 8 sessions to see differences, but I would say for mainly I worked with children with autism, because the parent, especially mother, spend a lot of times with that kid. They can start notice that what's the change that happening in their kid. That's I think what makes it really special for them, to see that change, and the change is possible. I think that's the important part. It's possible to make it better.